Check out my cat. Hey, Missy. What do you think? You want to tell this one? I'm going to interrupt my video anyway, so you might as well. Ah, that's gross. Here, look for my effect. Ah, gross. All right. I didn't need to slime my hand that much. That's like so much slime. I got cat slime on my freaking fingers. Alrighty, so, okay. Well, right. Check out my hat. Check out my cat. All right, so a collapsing society, what does it look like? How do we understand the cultural divide? How do we understand what's going on and why everybody's so angry right now? Well, you know, I think a lot of people are just really bummed out. They can't look at the news. They can't look at the Facebook. They can't look at everything. This is good and bad. Because things can't hide anymore. And there's a lot of truth bombs coming out. And there's some people, like, they double down, triple down on, and have to run defense on their positions and stuff like that. And I get that. But they can't have dialogue. It's just like, no, you have to believe me that this person is good, this person is bad, whatever. So the things that we're seeing, in a societal collapse, like a societal collapse doesn't necessarily mean just financial. There's also cultural collapse. And you're clearly seeing a cultural collapse in the States, where you've got, the radical left, the extreme far right, the centered, and then, this faction, that faction, whatever. Anyway, the thing is that what people don't get, like all the news, this is like ripping families apart and everything like that, is like with Donald Trump, is he a divisionary guy? Well, he kind of is in a way, but the real division isn't really coming from Donald Trump. In fact, if you listen to him and stuff like that, he's quite motivational the way he speaks to people. Unless you cross him, and then he tears you a new one. And he should. He should. He doesn't put up with the mainstream media biases and stuff like that. Right now, there's a big thing on, which is really not, Luke from We Are Change, I think, said it best, like, it is such a non-issue. There's so many bigger fish to fry. People are distracted on how many people showed up at the Trump rally and stuff like that. And the thing is I've looked at it, and I think somebody did it the best. They put a meme on my Facebook, and I saw it, and I laughed at it. I'll use it probably for the cover of this, is that you got the Obama rally, you've got the Trump rally where they showed the picture from about 8 o'clock in the morning all the way on CBC. They said this was taken at 11:59. It wasn't. It was taken at 8 o'clock in the morning. And then underneath they show like an Iron Maiden concert, like you go, Obama rally 2008, or whatever, Trump rally 2017, Iron Maiden every night. It's like a big crowd, bigger than both of them, right? It was pretty cool. I love it. But anyway, the thing is that, like, it's the lies that the mainstream media, no, well, the alternative facts, that's the other thing going out there. Well, here's the thing, okay? The people that believe the mainstream media are going to believe the mainstream media no matter, and it's not even whether they believe them or not. If it's against Trump, they'll believe it. There's other people that if it's for Trump, they'll believe it no matter what. I always say don't look at everything as a black and white issue. And this is the problem with most people, is they can only, because we're in such radical times, they just divert to one side or the other. They cannot look at the gray in the middle. And when you find the gray in the middle, that's where you find moderation. So is it truth at all cost? Is the best way to go? Well, the way somebody else put it was truth at all cost makes the cost lower at the other end. Right now, all the truth bombs hurt. They hurt a lot, and they're hurting a lot of people. Because you're being told things that either were lies, you've been lied to, finding out how much you've been lied to and duped, which is hard to accept, or you're being told that you're a liar. You know what I mean? That type of thing. So, which puts people in defensive mode. So that's kind of what you're seeing. But what I try to do is try to find the middle ground. And middle ground in a radicalized society is very difficult, and probably the most controversial position to take, because you're either with them or you're with us. Like that's the way some people have their mentality. They become very dogmatic that way, and which has its dangers. Now, the problem we're seeing is that when you're looking at how radical everybody is in their ideology, particularly on the left. Right now, maybe in the future it'll be a right-wing radical thing, but that's the thing. We've got to get out of this habit of bouncing radical left, radical right, radical. We need to get back to moderation in the center. we got to do away with the radicals on both sides, because that's what's screwing up our world, and that's also what's screwing up our societies, and it's also what's dividing them. You know, it's like, okay, you can disagree on some things, but when it's just so radical left or right, it's just ugly. Now, the thing is what burns people is when they see people doubling down on the lies. And the left, they always lie. They lie, maybe not the moderate left, but the extreme left, they lie like you wouldn't believe. So does the hard right. They lie too. But right now, the main lies are coming from the left, because the system is the left. The media is the left. The banking system are authoritarian, Trotskyite meets, they're the complete authoritarians, totalitarian system that they want to bring in. That type of thing, one world order, one world government, one world schooling, one world police force, one world currency, all that stuff that they want to bring in for control. Microchip everybody with a cashless society. Like, these are the things they're talking about at Davos, and this is what they're trying to implement around the world, and they are implementing it. You're seeing it in India. Universal income, they're trying to push that. I think they're trying that in Finland. These things are going to fail. And then who's the scapegoat going to be? You know what I mean? The scapegoat's going to have to fight for the life. That's the thing. Right now, the scapegoat everywhere on the left is the single white male. I mean, these anti-Trump rallies, inauguration rallies, the amount of anti-white rhetoric that was yelled out there, and you can say, oh, this guy's just a white supremacist bringing that up, whining. No, just go listen to the chants, and just think about where that's going to be 10 years down the road. When I said the left is moving into a very violent Trotsky-type mode, I wasn't kidding. You are seeing it. Now, does it happen overnight? No, these things take time to manifest, and they take time to fester. But they really do happen, and they are happening. So you've got George Soros, this Women's March. I'll start with that one. Which, oh my God, it's the big, and you see the memes all over the place. Women's March. It's the best in the world. It's basically all these women getting together organically. No, it's not organically. It's funded. The thing is when you got George Soros funding something like 53 of these women's groups, all links to George Soros, and they've got busing all these radical leftists everywhere. I mean, they were busing Canadians, or attempting to bus Canadians to the Capitol. What does that cost to send a bus and several buses? And how much tax dollars does that? This also includes tax dollars too. These philanthropists, they don't just take out of their own pocket; they take out of yours. All these NGO groups are usually government funded, right? And they're sending all these people to Washington. Okay. Now the people that get on it, they're usually, most of them are probably, okay, yeah, well, I'm just supporting that, and I got a free ride to there. These people wouldn't take out to the streets anyway. And when you look at what the messages are, that's where you find out what the agenda is. So the message wasn't about women's rights and stuff like that. It was anti-Trump. That's all it was. That's all it was. And there was women there saying, hey, whoa, I voted for Trump. This is, I thought this was just going to be a women's rally for support, like, kind of like the Million Man March type of thing. But it wasn't. It had nothing to do with that at all. It was just about Trump bashing. And that made a lot of women out there say, whoa, these women don't represent me. And then, of course, with Madonna with her F-bombs and stuff like that, there was children there. Okay, sure, I do F-bombs on my videos from time to time, but usually kids aren't watching these, you know what I mean? That type of thing. So when you're in front of the microphone, like if I'm in front of the microphone, I'm not throwing out F-bombs and stuff like that. And I'm definitely not going to threaten to blow up the White House. But the thing is now that Madonna has said that, how many people are now thinking that and saying, yeah, you know what, we should do that because, we're offended. All these little tender snowflakes out there that can't deal with reality. And that's another thing, is these people don't deal with reality. The other thing is Michael Moore. I don't know if you saw Michael Moore. Well, the alt-right caught up with Michael Moore, and they started agitating too. I mean, that's how it happens, you know what I mean? And that is what will destroy the alt-right, is if they go into agitation mode, because they're basically going to be turning into using Saul Alinsky tactics, agitate. But anyway, Michael Moore out there, remember he was calling for all these people to go out and disrupt and do as much damage as they could. Well, he got what he wanted. I don't think he was happy about it. I really don't think. But again, Michael Moore is a nutter in himself. And you got all these impressionable 20-year-olds, and they're still impressionable by 20. I mean, they're still impressionable. These university students, 18 to 20, whatever, even that 8 and 10-year-olds out there doing vandalism. Now, here's the thing. With all the media spin to get this violence, all the media, this is what people should really be looking at, who the true enemy is when the mainstream media, rather than calling for calm and stuff like that, they call these people freedom fighters. They call these people patriots. And so right on the CBC, they're talking, all these patriots taking out to protest Trump after a legitimate election. I'm not against the protests. No, protest all you like. But the violent protests, now these youngsters, okay, they're going to pay the piper, especially under a Trump era. The thing is under Obama, yes, you can get the Black Lives Matter, and no, nobody's going to go to jail for burning down their, and again, Black Lives Matter, not organic. They're, maybe they started off that way, but George Soros funding right away. And, even the Rothschild insider said, the Rothschilds are trying to brew a race war in the States, which is coming. It is coming. Why they do that? Because they need to rip the states apart because of national. These people want to control the world. You can't have it if you have people that are like-minded. You need divide and conquer to do this. And understanding divide and conquer is very crucial to the survival of a nation. And once you understand who's trying to do it, then you know who your true enemy is. So you got all these kids that are now going to, probably some of them might even be going to jail. They're going to get criminal records. They've ruined their lives on false brainwashing that it's okay to go out and do all this violence and bust cars and burn limos and yell death to white men. I mean, again, the death to white men chants, I mean, it's not the first one you hear. It's like after you hear about 25 of them, it's like, okay, so where does this land in 10 years? Well, I'll tell you where it lands in 10 years. The white men are going to turn into the racist bigots and genocidal maniacs that they keep threatening us that we are. And when we're not. We absolutely are not. Are there racist white people out there? Yes, but like I've said, and this probably offends people on my channel more than anything, white people are the least racist they've ever been in history, to the point where they're so altruistic that they're giving up their own countries. They're actually letting themselves be bred out. They're again, they can't be as any more leftist apologists as, again, they're so brainwashed, particularly the white women. They're basically from pretty much the beginning of kindergarten right up to college, told that the white supremacy and the patriarchy, all white men are evil. And, to hate their own. I mean, that's very, very clear. Now, they do this with the African Americans too, but not to the same degree. The African Americans, they target them in a different way. The way they target them is, you're repressed and because of slavery and something. Meanwhile, they never point out the fact that most of the slaves came from African slave traders, in Africa. I mean, the white guys didn't go through the bush to collect Africans. No, they met you at the port, and the African warlord basically sold you whoever. And whites were, again, whenever you hear blacks asking for reparations for slavery, well, we'll do that as soon as the Ottoman Turks give us reparations and the Mongols give us reparations for having the first slaves. Greece. The Ottoman Empire enslaved how many of them? Those were white people. You know what I mean? And what are they going to get reparations? You know what I mean? And who was the first to get rid of slavery? Well, it was whites. I think it even started here in Canada. It was the British Empire basically buying up the slave, basically paying the slaves to go away. And I think that started here in Canada in the late 1700s, late 1780s or something like that. And basically said, okay, no, we're going to set everybody free. We'll just pay for the slaves to go away. But the states had a civil war over it, so they say. But it was really more about a railroad. Lincoln wasn't anti-slavery. If you really, again, selective history. And that's the other thing that we're seeing is all the selective history that's being revised because it was politically incorrect. Well, this person, they were this, no, they were that. And history being revised, I don't have a problem with if it's fact-based, that type of thing. But you see, well, we can't have that history because it offends somebody. Well, then, no. That person's going to have to suck it up. That type of thing. And that's the world where these progressive lefties are so far gone. Some of them I don't think we'll be able to live around in the next, the next years or two, because they're just too violent. They're getting too violent. And the thing is when it gets to that kind of violence, they turn on themselves. That's the other thing. So you don't want to be around it. But I think one of the things about these giant protests in the media and stuff like that, it does show, number one, the divide and conquer. The anti-white propaganda versus the, victimology of blacks and that type of thing. And they never show the positive. They never show the good. And there is beauty in the world if you know how to see it. But, you know, we're in a world that's on its head everywhere. They can't understand why nationalism is rising everywhere. Well, it's very clear. I mean, people see the propaganda. Most people that understand it's, you know, basically divide and conquer, that it really does, you know, bring out the worst in people for sure. They understand that. And they understand to avoid it. And the best way to avoid it is just go around it. So you're going to see breakaway societies that won't fall for this stuff anymore. And I do believe the start of it now. Like, I mean, myself in 4 years, I mean, after Trump in 4, because I know it's going to be a very rough 4 years. Even though I'm a Canadian up here, I'm like, where am I going to live on this planet? If I can get off this planet, that'd be great. You know, I'm working on my spaceship now. Maybe, hopefully in 4 years I'll be able to get, you know, I'll go to Titan, I'll go to Mars, I'll go to Europa. I don't care where I go, as long as I get rid of all this ridiculousness. But till that happens, I got to make do with what I got, right? And I got to live amongst these people that are being propagandized to hate my guts just for, strangely enough, for my skin color. Yeah, like the most evil thing you can be on this planet is a straight white male. And the thing is that when you see that that's who they want as the number one demonized person, the best way to get that is to, you know, have all these feminist groups and LGBTQ and all these other groups and the Black Lives Matter, that, you know, white supremacy everywhere, and the whites are always out to get you, when it's simply not true. I mean, most of the people that support Black Lives Matter are white, so what does that tell you? I think over in London or whatever, they had a protest for Black Lives Matter. It was like 92% white people out there protesting as Black Lives Matter. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? Very, very ridiculous. But the thing is that it's going to get a lot more ugly, particularly with the media. The media is the main catalyst in all this. These are the people that really propagate the incentives for people to go out and do violence. That, you know, well, whenever somebody, you know, from Black Lives Matter burns up, well, it's because they're so enraged and stuff like that, and, you know, you can't really blame them, and they always make excuses for the violence. Now, here's the thing, Sheila Gunn Reid, I haven't seen the video yet, but I saw one of her follow-up videos or whatever. Some guy at this so-called feminist rally, this massive feminist rally, punched her in the face. Why? Because she was a right-wing woman. And the feminists, they corralled the guy, they kind of, you know, it's a feminist rally. You know, isn't this the same group that talks about rape culture everywhere and, you know, brutality against women is wrong? But yet they support this male feminist who punches, you know, a right-wing woman? That tells you how sick your society is. First off, that guy should have been face down on the ground with a boot stomped in his face. But, I mean, if she took swing at him or something like that, you could say, okay, well, he was defending himself. But no, you know, you have an argument that I can't hear, and I punch you? No, it's the same with these Antifa. Like, when you understand that the Antifa, these guys, they don't have any real morals. They're just basically people that want to go out and create problems. But it's also, these guys are the radical tip of the spear that do your, you know, Bolshevik 2.0 type of revolution that you're going to see. And they will get extremely violent. People are going to die. And that radical begets radical. So you're going to see the radical right actually turn radical. They're not radical right now. They're not. They're going to be. And you're going to see that turn, because I'm already witnessing, like, I watch a lot of things, and I tend to like to watch a lot of people and what they do. And I find it fascinating as a man passing through time that how it works. But the thing is that I look at it, and it's like I don't get caught up on. That's why I don't go to these protests for something or against something, because I understand the protesting itself is fine. But most of it, if it's manipulated protest, it's completely pointless, because that's the agitation, that's the idea, is to get the most radical of opposing groups to confront each other. And when they do, this is where you can get the problem, reaction, solution. Government creates a problem, people react to it, propose a solution as if the people came up with the idea themselves, but that's what they wanted all along. And that's what we might be seeing with Trump. Now, Trump, he's not really a divider in the sense that you think. The left has really projected on him a lot of things that he's probably not even going to do. And most of them have never listened to a sound he said. The other thing is that you have to understand at the end of the day what it's all about. And basically, it's all about the world elites having control over the entire system. You have to look at the world divided into two empires. The transatlantic Anglo-American empire, petrodollar, Canada, the United States, Europe, etc., versus the Eurasian Pacific Empire, which Russia, China, India, Iran, BRICS nations, against them. And these two empires are fighting. That's very clear. Follow my channel, you kind of understand what all these war movements are about and surrounding Russia and surrounding China. You get the idea. It's, basically like Monopoly, Command and Conquer. But on the other hand, is you have to also look at everything around you in the world, in the Western world, is one system. The banking system is the United Nations system. The United Nations system is the military system in NATO. The NATO system is the military system is the education system. The education system is the media system. And it's all one system. And a lot of people, they still can't grasp that yet. But once you grasp it as that, then you understand the agenda. So what are they doing? Well, they're doing one of three things. They're using Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals. Basically, Hillary Clinton was a protege of Saul Alinsky. And many of the top prominent people up there worked with Alinsky. You got Henry Kissinger, George Soros, Zbigniew Brzezinski, Rothschilds, Rockefellers. These are the people really at the top, and God knows who's above them and who they answer to. And there's a whole bunch of them. You got your 13 prominent families and stuff like that. And they want to run the world. And the only way they can do it is order from chaos, the Masonic order from chaos. And one of the things that they have to do is divide and conquer. That's how you get your best order from chaos. And what do they mean by order from chaos? Well, we got the Hegelian dialectic, problem, reaction, solution, using Saul Alinsky's tactics, rules for radicals to get things going. And then you wrap it up using the Soviet-style ideological subversion to promote this stuff. So how does that work? Well, you have 4 stages. First, you demoralize your society, which the United States is completely demoralized right now, whether they're on the left or on the right. Both are so fed up with each other. Then you destabilize, which you could do this through protest, whatever, but there's to be no legitimate protest, such as these women's groups, and Madonna proves this perfectly. Now, is Madonna in on it? Probably not, because there's what you'd call the communist version of a useful idiot. But you take these most radical people, you elevate them beyond criticism, and when they're up there, most people are going to reject these people's ideas. But as soon as there's any sort of dissenting voice on it, crackdown, racist, bigot, misogynist, xenophobe, homophobe, whatever it's going to be. And that's what you get. And did Madonna not hit all those, regurgitated leftist, feminist talking points? Of course she did. And once you have that, like, she's just an example. She's not the only one. There's a whole bunch. Pretty much all of Hollywood is like that. They have a leftist narrative, that type of thing. So you have these radicals who, you're demoralized. They're now in the radicalization period, and basically Trotskyism 2.0, or Bolshevik Revolution 2.0, Trotskyism, tear it all down, and they never stop tearing down. Now these people, because they start to destabilize the country, it will lead the country into a crisis. You saw this play out in the Ukraine, where George Soros and Victoria Nuland under the Obama administration, basically spent $3 billion trying to overthrow the Ukraine by arming neo-Nazis. And they overthrew the legitimate government. Russia counter-couped by annexing the Crimea. It was, they saw it coming a million miles away. And now there's a civil war within the Ukraine. Okay? So you could see the same thing kind of playing out here. A color revolution is a color revolution. George Soros funded color revolutions around the world are notorious. He's tried this in every country. This man is just completely, he's pure evil. But you'd say, yeah, but these are just women's marches. I'm not talking the utopianistic feminists that box out there. I'm talking the extreme radicals that come out. So these women's groups are out there wearing their pink hats and stuff like that. And they double down on the radicalizing and stuff like that. But the thing about it is, okay, these women, not too many of them are violent, but, remember when all those Tea Partiers, that had their protests and they left junk and garbage all over the place? No, me neither. I mean, every Tea Party event, the place was always left cleaner than what they arrived at. These feminists left freaking signs, and most of these are the, green earth types, whatever, they just throw signs and garbage all over Washington. And you'd be surprised how many women have been posting on Facebook about, this is what feminism is, nice way to take care of the environment. And who went around cleaning up some of these, the garbage around? People with Make Great America Great Again hats on. So yes, you're going to see the divide and conquer there. So, but the thing is that it plays it out the way it's supposed to play it. So now you've got the radicals are there. They're definitely out. This is the war cry of the radical. And basically, they're now in the destabilization mode. So you have demoralization, destabilization of the ideological subversion. During the destabilization mode, it will lead up to the crisis. The crisis, such like Black Lives Matter burning down their own communities, most of the people that do that are not from those communities. They are bussed in by George Soros-funded buses, the same that bus. Again, George Soros must have a fleet of buses ready to go on a moment's notice. The same radicals that went around voting multiple times, again, openly admitted in Operation Veritas, by the Democrat Party, getting people to vote multiple times in the election. They've been doing it since 1957, according to the video. The guys, we've been doing it. We take our Democrats and we get them to vote, several times. They've been doing it for years. You have that, and then you've got, basically, when you work into the crisis mode, these are the people also talking about throwing out, stink bombs at the inauguration, trying to crash the party. These are also the people busting, trash cans. These Antifa going around busting trash cans, busting shop store windows. Again, these people are not legitimate protests. There is no legitimate protest. It's been hijacked by the radicals. So, and they hide amongst legitimate protesters, sure. And again, if you protest for one thing or nothing, I don't care as long as it's peaceful, right? But the thing is what does this do? Well, this brings out martial law. This brings out martial law. You can call them agitators or whatever, or agent provocateurs. I'm sure they're in there too. And what they do is during this crisis mode, there is going to be martial law, or a soft form of martial law, or martial law in areas and not in some other areas. But what it does is it allows the police state and the deep state to grow massively. Now, with Trump, yes, he is pro-deep state. You can kind of see that. Obama did whatever the deep state wanted him to do. And there's no lengths in which they won't go to get their way, meaning people will die. So when the normalization period is coming in under this crisis, this is where your radicals get thrown in jail, get put up against the wall and shot, aka the useful idiots. And this is what the left has no concept of. They cannot see the forest for the trees. They do not understand that they've been used to get to what they want. And we could be seeing this play out. And again, we don't know where Trump really lies. Is he the real deal? Is he what he said he is, whether you agree with him or disagree with him? Is he exactly what he says he is? Or is he following orders from the New World Order, Old World Order, corrupt elites, whatever you want to call them, Illuminati? I don't care. But the people at the top that want all this. Because at the end of the day, these radical leftists, okay, if they're peacefully protesting, there's nothing to worry about. But you're going to have so much more militarization of the police, so much more militarization of riot cops and stuff like that. That's going to be like the number one occupation in the States pretty soon is going to be riot cops. You laugh, but I wish I was wrong. But during the normalization period, you do away with all the radical leftists. You do away with all the radical right. You do away with anybody that will challenge the authority of the system. And when that happens, you get a massive crackdown, and they call that the normalization period. And it is basically martial law. And at that point, people disappear for years. You're going to see a lot of these radical leftists hauled away, in the middle of the night type of thing. And that said, as much as I don't like these radical leftists, I don't like the principle of getting to the problem, reaction, solution, and Soviet-style ideological subversion, because I understand at the end of the day, it's about state control. So we don't need to go that route. And if people understand divide and conquer, maybe it'll help them to not go down that route. That you can fight intellectually, that you can fight policy. All these radical leftists out there that are just belligerently crazy anti-Trump, they're not fighting his policy. Fight his policies, then maybe yes. And I'm out there telling people, look, I don't know, some policies are going to be good, some policies are going to be bad. I give every politician the fair shake that I can. Justin Trudeau, I've given him as much fair shake as I can. There's not too much he's doing right. When he gets it right, I will agree with him. But when he doesn't, I don't. But at the end of the day, is he really making his own decisions? No, he is not. You might as well say George Soros is the true Prime Minister of Canada. According to John McClellan, we're our good friend George Soros, he's helping us with the migrant crisis. And again, they keep talking about United Nations Agenda 2030, United Nations Agenda 21, that type of thing. That's all they talk about is Agenda 2030 pretty much in Parliament here in Canada. Not all they talk about, but that and Trans-Pacific Trade Partnership. The two major things that most people are against because they don't want centralized power or loss of sovereignty in their country. But while you're completely divide and conquer over, anti-Trump, pro-Trump, whatever, how many people showed up at the inauguration or whatever, the gears of the machine rage on, and they aren't good yet. I mean, Trump might do some good, but how, that's the thing. We have to keep an eye on him. We have to hold the politicians' feet to the fire. Protest is one thing. Violent protest delegitimizes any legitimate protest, period. And if you understand that, then you understand where the agitators come in, and then you understand you have to change your tactics in order to beat these people at the top. And the only way to do that is through truth, dialogue, and openness, not shut it down, racist, bigot, xenophobe, homophobe. No, there are legitimate concerns on all sides, whether it's on the left or the right. That is easy to see for somebody who doesn't fall for divide and conquer. But right now, the most dividing out there is the mainstream media. I had a friend post on their Facebook, and I've been watching people since the Trump inauguration. And again, I only had people that I know close to my, that I know personally. Because I have friends and family on my Facebook, I don't add, I don't open that up to my subscribers and stuff like that. Maybe someday I'll have a channel for that, but other than my WW3 updates channel, that's the only thing I have on Facebook for the populace. But the thing is that, for example, one girl she put up, just as a, and this comes from like Huffington Post or something, Dow Jones at this, the economy's doing this, gas is at this, and at this. Mark this for, kind of, this is Trump's first day in office, so we're going to measure it. But when you know that the system is so rigged, I mean, and there's so many people that they believe that the economists that are on the mainstream media, when there's so many out there that are showing, no, the United States has 94 to 96 million people out of work, or about a 62% unemployment rate, somewhere around there, because there's a lot, there's always margin of error. And there, when it said 4.7, I mean, it's just not believable. 4.7% unemployment rate. Find that anywhere in history. In history, no. You're always going to be somewhere around between the 7 and 10% unemployment rate. Any country, any time in history. People don't even know how the job numbers are calculated. But when they see those quick sound bites and those quick memes, that does get, again, like what Hitler would say, that if you tell a lie long enough, it becomes taken as fact. And Hitler wasn't doing that as a propaganda thing. It was in one of his speeches. And again, I'm not a pro-Hitler guy, but there was a lot of great things he talked about, but so did Obama. And again, if people would have been objective on Hitler, maybe he could have been a great leader in the sense of just for his people and kept them out of the war. However, that said, there was a lot of people that wanted Hitler to agitate Hitler into a war as well. So you have to look at both sides of history. I'm not saying Hitler was a good guy. He was an authoritarian. There's no doubt about that. I made the reference that Donald Trump was more like a Joseph Stalin than a Hitler, mannerisms-wise. But I think somebody summed it up better. He's more like Mussolini. And I think, yeah, bingo, Trump and Mussolini, there you go. That's a very good, cross-reference right there. I think that's what we're going to see with Trump, is more of a Mussolini type of character. And yeah, but I do think he's going to run these SJWs with an iron fist if they step out of line. Meaning the normalization period under Trump will be a very, jackboot thug on your throat. And when the jackboot thug's boot is on your throat, you're not going to care if it's a left boot or a right boot. What you're going to care about is that, hey, how did we get so militarized? Why are the police so militarized? Why has every little issue become a riot in the United States? This is what it is. Now, we also have to look at foreign actors on this, such as Russia and China and stuff like that. How much, cui bono, who benefits from the United States tearing itself apart in a civil war? Now, under Trump, I do believe we're going to see a small civil war light. Like I said, you're probably going to see some sort of financial calamity, like an economic collapse. The man is definitely preparing to go for an insolvent economy. But I think he's got some tricks up his sleeve, such as pull the Iceland solution, get rid of the too big to fail, put the bankers in jail. If he does that and audit the Fed, that type of thing, if he does that, then he's on our side. But the big thing is to get rid of the central bankers. That's the thing that Trump hasn't signaled that he's going to do yet. The second you see Trump start talking about the central bankers as the pariahs that they are, then there's going to be violent change, but change coming. And that violent change is going to be within the system, so most of us won't see it. It'll be spy type stuff. But on the street, the man on the street, you have to contend with a media system that is hell-bent on demonizing one group, idolizing the other group, and playing both groups off each other. And that is the essence of divide and conquer. And this comes from, the mainstream media, everything, Trump's speech at the CIA headquarters, they're playing it off as some disaster. But go listen to the speech. That was a hit. Like, how could they take that as a disaster? Everybody was clapping. Everybody was, it was a positive messages that maybe, I don't like the idea of the CIA getting, I think it's a terrorist organization. You armed terrorists, you are a terrorist. It's the CIA that got the weapons to, under whose orders doesn't really matter. It's the CIA that gave the anti-tank weapons and the machine guns and everything to the ISIS guys. So, and they're still doing it, to my knowledge. Now, if Trump reverses that, then Trump's going in the right direction. But, that said, again, you have the media out there putting a spin on something. Again, I know it's not important, but it is important. It's because of the optics on it, to understand the divide and conquer. They promote this picture of the inauguration day, okay, and the mainstream media doubles down on their lie, because that was taken at 8 o'clock in the morning, or 8:30 or whatever. They pass it off as it was taken at 11 something, whenever around the speech was getting ready. I've had a subscriber say, no, there wasn't as many people at the Trump rally as there was at the Obama rally. Maybe that's true. Okay, whatever, so who knows? But you could see other pictures very clearly, especially these high-resolution pictures that you can zoom right to the back to the Washington Monument. And yes, I know from some angles it'll always look like there's more people than there actually is. But the gaps that they were showing, you would see that even from Trump's view. But then there is other, Alex Jones was showing multiple angles, and Trump did this on purpose, where he let the media do that, and now he's starting to show the other angles of the people, which from the Washington Monument to Trump is just packed as the Obama one, or give or take. When you see these pictures, you see it from multiple angles, there wasn't a lot of floor space left. Or maybe there was, again, the numbers itself, who knows. So that's the alternative facts. The ones that tell you, and they're telling you the truth. And I think Trump, he's just going to keep truth bombing. So the people that are going to believe him are going to believe him. The ones that are going to double down, it's just their biases. So, to try to, I put the facts out there the best I can find them. And if I find irrefutable facts, I definitely put them out there. If I find, okay, this is just divide and conquer, and whatever. Like, again, I'm not going to go to bat for Trump until I know for sure that, he's at least legitimate on what he says he's going to do. So far, there's some, the easy wins are coming out. It's the hard wins is taking down the banking system that has allowed all this divide and conquer to take place. Open borders and all that stuff. That type of thing. Like, if you have a country, you can't have an open border. And I know that a lot of people are brainwashed into thinking, but diversity is our strength, so we have to have an open border. But again, there are people that don't want that. Again, if you believe in that so much, move to all these other countries that you think are so much better. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing. But the divide and conquer, that whether you're on the left or on the right, you need to be able to see that. And when you understand that the media is against both sides, then you have to double down on your objectivity. And you have to look at the gray area, not just the black and the white. But also you have to do something else, is that you have to really understand why the mainstream media is going so hell-bent on fake news. At first it was conspiracy theorists, now it's fake news. Oh, because you're too stupid to think for yourself, we can't have that. Oh, well, impressionable people might get fake news and it'll be so damaging. And this is why Hillary Clinton lost the... No, Hillary Clinton lost the election. Not because of the Russians, it's because that woman is corrupt to the core. And it's like, well, why would anybody just believe anything said about Hillary Clinton? Because it's been proved this woman is a convicted criminal. They didn't give her press charges, but she's a convicted criminal. They just didn't sentence her. But if you or I were to do the things that she did, and they're still going on under the Clinton Foundation, the Haiti Fund, the email leaks, and there are leaks, they weren't hacked. That's the thing you need to understand. It means people in the Democratic Party are trying to tell you the truth. And they threw Hillary Clinton under the bus. What does that tell you? That didn't happen with the GOP. So maybe there's something to be read into there too. But at the end of the day, but the GOP was trying to harpoon the best guy they had. Can you imagine how much more Trump would have won by if the GOP would have actually backed them? And that should be your first big red flag right there. Why does their own party, who has a clear winning horse, that's like your winning racehorse, whacking him in the ankle with a hammer so he doesn't run as fast so he won't win, when you clearly know he can win. They should have tripled down on Donald Trump to get him to win, because the party won. You know what I mean? But they didn't want him in there. You know what I mean? They tried to harpoon their own guy. That is something that should tell you, speaks volumes. Or maybe it was just a show. Maybe, hey, you know what? Every time we go against them too, it puts them as the underdog, and then we're going to win that way. Maybe that's the new strategy. Pretend you're against the guy when you're really not. Who knows? We don't know. Only time will tell. But divide and conquer makes everybody angry. That's why everybody's agitated and stuff like that, because they don't understand they're looking at divide and conquer. And once you understand what divide and conquer is, then you realize who the real enemies are. It's the propaganda machines that keep putting out false. And again, see, with this fake news thing, every time CNN gets caught in a lie, what if they're going to have the truth like Snopes and stuff like that? Where were they when CNN was lying? You know, I mean, how many lies have these people been caught in? And you give them enough rope, they'll hang themselves. But what they're saying is they can lie, but you know, what happens when the CBC gets caught in a lie here up in Canada? What are they going to do? You know, when they're actually fake news, and they've been caught in a lie more often than not. And they lie. The mainstream media lies by either spin or by omission, where they just won't cover issues and stuff like that, or they're so one-sided it's not funny. And I think most people are starting to see through that you know the mainstream media is BS. But the people that believe the fake news meme, that type of thing, it doesn't mean there isn't fake news out on the internet. Fine, people know that. But I think most people can figure out that, no, this is the mainstream media is paranoid of losing, you know, I mean, that's why, again, nobody believes them. They're trying to, no, you got to believe us again because everything you've been told was fake news. And if it forces them to use facts, that's fine. But the problem is where are they getting their facts? You know, it's like our facts versus your facts. Okay, well, then we have to look at the actual incident. Now, the problem with this is we lose objectivity when we have two competing sources of facts. But what can you prove, what can't you prove? And it seems like the fake news proves the mainstream media wrong much more than the other way around. You know, and I've seen that for time and time again, particularly with the CBC, where, oh, no, that's conspiracy theory. Oh, well, now it's fact. You know, a Bilderberger group, they don't exist. That's just paranoia. That's whatever. The other thing, and then, of course, like, well, yeah, they meet, but it's not what you think. You know what I mean? It's like, you knew this all along, and then, you know, they double down on their lies, and that's why people don't trust them. And it takes a while for people to see it, but once they, again, 1,000 years of lies are destroyed by moments of truth. And it doesn't mean you're going to get the truth all the time on the other side either, but once you know who you can't trust, you don't go back to that source. So the big thing I think people are taking away on this is, again, why, if it's such fake news, okay, why are they even worried about it? Oh, well, it does so much damage and stuff like that. And I mean, here, just think about this logically. And I guess I'll end up on this because I can go on forever in the day on it. You had Obama out there saying, no, the election can't be hacked. It's impossible. Don't worry about it. Meanwhile, on national TV, he said, you know, if you're an illegal, go ahead and vote. There'll be no repercussions. Go ahead. If you're an illegal, go ahead and vote. So when Trump comes out and says, yeah, about 3 million illegals voted for Hillary, I would have won the popular vote if it wasn't for that. God knows how many people voted many times. Again, Operation Veritas, where they confirmed that, yes, Democrats were going out, not all of them, but you know, they were bussing people around, which George Soros funded. George Soros is also talked about this, openly admitted. I mean, these psychos, they admit everything. Out there saying, yeah, we're going to get people to vote multiple times, that type of thing, even if they don't say it so directly, they imply it. And then some of them say it directly. Say, yeah, they voted multiple times. So yes, there was election fraud, so Obama was caught in a lie. And Trump was kind of proven right that there was probably about 3 million people that illegally voted. Oh, but there's no such thing as illegal. They're undocumented workers. People without citizenship took part in an election of a country that they don't belong to. It's like me going over to Timbuktu and I'm on vacation. Well, they're having an election. I'll just go and vote there. It's the same thing. Of course, I don't have the right to do that. So Trump was right there. And the mainstream media, oh, no, that's fake news. That's fake news. But it's not. It's factual. How factual? Well, there's a gray area there. Again, but we got caught in that. Oh, we're going to accept the election results. Hillary Clinton is going to accept the election results no matter which way they go. Did she do that? Absolutely not. Donald Trump, we'll see. Okay, well, Donald Trump, yeah, you could say, well, there's a good likelihood he wasn't going to accept the election results no matter which way they went, or which, you know, if he would have lost. Okay, fine. You could say that objectively. So the election can't be hacked, according to Obama. Illegals didn't vote, according to the mainstream media. Now, if the election can't be hacked according to Obama, then how come they're out there saying the Russians hacked the election? The Russians hacked the election. We're not going to show you the proof because it's top secret and, national security, da-da-da. When you make an allegation like that, I'm sorry, but you got to show proof. You got to show proof. And no, there's no proof. To date, there hasn't been any proof that shows the Russians hacked the elections. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't, but I didn't. Other thing. Now, mind you, the Russians are kind of clever like this, so you never know. Why would the Russians hack Hillary Clinton's emails with their, subpar, or what do you call it, the top dog hackers, and then for the election put their, easiest to track hackers, which again, out of the something like 2 million hacks or whatever that they show, there's only 2 that have been shown to come from a Russian library in Russia. And at that, it doesn't say what they tried to hack, and it definitely doesn't look like it was trying to hack the elections. So, again, no proof has ever been, but the mainstream media is telling you that the Russians hacked the election. The Russians used propaganda. It was the Russians did it. If you burnt your toast this morning, the Russians did it, according to them. No proof, ever. That type of thing, no proof ever. So, anybody that comes up with a, objectivity against that, oh, well, that's just fake news. So you got Mark Zuckerberg and the CEOs of Google saying we're going to make sure that nobody could ever profit off of fake news. And then you get the argument, well, the only reason why there's fake news is because people make money on it. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, this is coming from the mainstream media who, like the CBC, gets public funding, has advertising to raise revenue. Their CEOs get paid ridiculous money. And you're telling us that there's no financial incentive for them? You know what I mean? Especially when it comes to public funding. Yes, let's basically kind of campaign light for Justin Trudeau because he's going to raise the budget at the CBC, and they are. Let's campaign against the Conservatives because they want to cut the CBC and privatize it, which they should. That type of thing. So you can see how these things work. But the alternative media, they don't work that way. They work on, I don't survive off of donations, but I get donations from time to time. I wish I could survive off the donations. Then I could remove some of the AdSense. But till then, I have to use the AdSense to keep this going because this is what I do for my job. Now, that said, can I ever be wrong? Yes, I can be wrong. If the mainstream media can be wrong, so can the alternative media. We can get things wrong. There's no doubt about that. But when you double down when you get things wrong, a different perspective is not necessarily getting things wrong. But when you know that it is clearly infactual, that it can be debunked, you have to debunk it. And the thing is memes are not, memes are only so effective to a degree. Meme wars do work to a degree, don't get me wrong. But the thing is once you reach people with the truth, or a reasonable doubt, beyond a reasonable doubt, once they've seen that evidence that shows that the mainstream media, more often than not, is lying, but they just, again, the idea that the most important thing that they can talk about on the mainstream media is fake news, and how anti-Donald Trump they are, without even saying, okay, well, this guy's only in for 6 days. Yes, he's done a lot of controversial stuff in 6 days of being in office. This man is actually getting to work. The mainstream media and the establishment won't be able to counter Trump if he keeps going at this rate. Executive order. He's going to be signing up to 200 executive orders. Some will be good, some will be bad, some you will be neutral on. That's what you need to judge the man on. Is he actually working? If you're going to go by, is he doing what he says? Well, a lot of people, he's reneged on his promises. He's broken all the promises that he made. It's 6 days in. He's only been in office for 6 days. Now, are there some things he's backtracked on? Absolutely. And people are either worried or happy about that, whichever. But the man being the negotiator, it's in his style. So it's like, okay, it's not unexpected. But when the mainstream media is trying to sound like they're talking about him as if he's at the end of his 4 years. You know what I mean? It's, oh my God, 6 days in and he hasn't done this yet, he hasn't done that. 6 days in, give him time. In 4 years we'll be able to judge this man. I think he's going to be a 2-term president. Why? Because there's going to be a lot of things that I'm going to bitch about. If he moves us closer to wars or starts more wars, I'm going to bitch about that because that's my number one concern is thermonuclear war. My second one is communism, which, it's going to go away, but how violent is it going to be, So, anyway, just to understand the divide and conquer and how it works. No two people agree on everything 100%, and I get that. But just understand the divide and conquer that. Before you go to defend something or not defend something, understand. Don't just jump on the meme right away. Don't just jump on, the bandwagon right away of for or against something. Look at it objectively. The black and white, never mind the black and white. You can take those opinions into consideration. Look at the gray area. There's 3 sides to every story. Yours, theirs, and the truth. And the more we move towards truth, no matter how ugly or how painful it might be, will benefit the next generation because they don't have to do the fight that we're going to have to do now. Now, that said, people having different belief systems is not necessarily objective truth or whatever. It's not necessarily evil. It's not necessarily good. It's not necessarily bad. I think an honesty is going to emerge out of this chaos that we're seeing now. And one of those honesties is the people that are looking at the people that they cannot no longer coexist with. And the left versus the right. So the LGBTQ community, the nihilistically feminist community, those people are going to be walked away from. And when they are, they're not going to like it because those people can't exist unless they have, whitey to blame or whatever, or the patriarchy or whatever. And they need to leech off that. That's their identity, is victim ideology and whatever. And they need that demon, or else they can't exist. Now, the right, they want to push away from the radical left. They want to go their own way. They don't want to have anything. Here, you can have the whole system. We don't want it. You take it. We're going to go over here. Just leave us alone. Problem is the communists could never leave the libertarian alone. Libertarians are waking up to that ideology now that, hey, wait a minute, the non-aggression principle doesn't really work when these people are always trying to kick us in the head. It's like, it doesn't work. Like we're trying to leave them alone, but they won't. They keep following us. But that's how the progressive left works: is they have to follow you around for your resources. They're not productive. They're nihilist. They don't even know they're nihilist. They worship death. When just leaving it at this, whether you're for or against abortion, I'll just leave it at this. When the number one issue for women's rights in the West becomes how can we abort our unborn babies, that tells you a lot. Whether you're for or against it, it's sad that that's the number one issue when whatever. But anyway, if you like this kind of content, please consider making a donation to the channel. Links down below. Thank you so much to everybody who has. Next up, rate, subscribe, share, comment, like. Be true to yourself, be true to others, always do the right thing, and have yourselves a great day. All right, good day and welcome. All right, check out my cat. Hey, Missy, what do you think? You want to tell this one? I'm going to interrupt my video anyway, so you might as well. That's gross. Here, look for my effect. Gross. All right. I didn't need to slime my hand that much. That's like so much slime. I got cat slime on my freaking fingers. All right, so, okay. Well. All right, check out my hat. Check out my cat. All right, so a collapsing society, what does it look like? How do we understand the cultural divide? How do we understand what's going on and why everybody's so angry right now? Well, I think a lot of people are just really bummed out. They can't look at the news. They can't look at the Facebook. They can't look at everything. This is good and bad. Because things can't hide anymore. And there's a lot of truth bombs coming out. And there's some people, like, they double down, triple down on, and have to run defense on their positions and stuff like that. And I get that. But they can't have dialogue. It's just like, no, you have to believe me that this person is good, this person is bad, whatever. So the things that we're seeing, in a societal collapse, like a societal collapse doesn't necessarily mean just financial. There's also cultural collapse. And you're clearly seeing a cultural collapse in the States, where you got, the radical left, the extreme far right, the centered, and then, this faction, that faction, whatever. Anyway, the thing is that what people don't get, like all the news, this is like ripping families apart and everything like that, is like with Donald Trump, is he a divisionary guy? Well, he kind of is in a way, but the real division isn't really coming from Donald Trump. In fact, if you listen to him and stuff like that, he's quite motivational the way he speaks to people. Unless you cross him, and then he tears you a new one. And he should. He should. He doesn't put up with the mainstream media biases and stuff like that. Right now, there's a big thing on, which is really not, Luke from We Are Change, I think, said it best. Like, it is such a non-issue. There's so many bigger fish to fry. People are distracted on how many people showed up at the Trump rally and stuff like that. And the thing is I've looked at it, and I think somebody did it the best. They put a meme on my Facebook, and I saw it, and I laughed at it. I'll use it probably for the cover of this, is that you got the Obama rally, you've got the Trump rally where they showed the picture from about 8 o'clock in the morning all the way on CBC. They said this was taken at 11:59. It wasn't. It was taken at 8 o'clock in the morning. And then underneath they show like a Iron Maiden concert, like they go, Obama rally 2008, or whatever, Trump rally 2017, Iron Maiden every night. It's like a big crowd, bigger than both of them, right? It was pretty cool. I love it. But anyway, the thing is that, like, it's the lies that the mainstream media, oh, no, 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 well, the alternative facts, that's the other thing going out there. Well, here's the thing, okay? The people that believe the mainstream media are going to believe the mainstream media no matter, and it's not even whether they believe them or not. If it's against Trump, they'll believe it. There's other people that if it's for Trump, they'll believe it no matter what. I always say don't look at everything as a black and white issue. And this is the problem with most people is they can only, because we're in such radical times, they just divert to one side or the other. They cannot look at the gray in the middle. And when you find the gray in the middle, that's where you find moderation. So, is it truth at all cost is the best way to go? Well, the way somebody else put it was truth at all cost makes the cost lower at the other end. Right now, all the truth bombs hurt. They hurt a lot, and they're hurting a lot of people. Because you're being told things that either were lies, you've been lied to, finding out how much you've been lied to and duped, which is hard to accept, or you're being told that you're a liar. You know what I mean? That type of thing. So, which puts people in defensive mode. So that's kind of what you're seeing. But what I try to do is try to find the middle ground. And middle ground in a radicalized society is very difficult and probably the most controversial position to take, because you're either with them or you're with us. Like that's the way some people have their mentality. They become very dogmatic that way, and which has its dangers. Now the problem we're seeing is that when you're looking at how radical everybody is in their ideology, particularly on the left. Right now, maybe in the future it'll be a right-wing radical thing, but that's the thing, we've got to get out of this habit of bouncing radical left, radical right, radical. We need to get back to moderation in the center. We've got to do away with the radicals on both sides, because that's what's screwing up our world. And that's also what's screwing up our societies, and it's also what's dividing them. It's like, okay, you can disagree on some things, but when it's just so radical left or right, it's just ugly. Now, the thing is what burns people is when they see people doubling down on the lies. And the left, they always lie. They lie, maybe not the moderate left, but the extreme left, they lie like you wouldn't believe. So does the hard right. They lie too. But right now, the main lies are coming from the left, because the system is the left. The media is the left. The banking system are authoritarian, Trotskyite meets, they're complete authoritarians, totalitarian system that they want to bring in. That type of thing, one world order, one world government, one world schooling, one world police force, one world currency, all that stuff that they want to bring in for control. Microchip everybody with a cashless society. Like, these are the things they're talking about at Davos, and this is what they're trying to implement around the world, and they are implementing it. You're seeing it in India. Universal income, they're trying to push that. I think they're trying that in Finland. These things are going to fail. And then who's the scapegoat going to be? You know what I mean? The scapegoat's going to have to fight for the life. That's the thing. Right now, the scapegoat everywhere on the left is the single white male. I mean, these anti-Trump rallies, inauguration rallies, the amount of anti-white rhetoric that was yelled out there, and you can say, oh, this guy's just a white supremacist bringing that up, whining. No, just go listen to the chants, and just think about where that's going to be 10 years down the road. When I said the left is moving into a very violent Trotsky-type mode, I wasn't kidding. You are seeing it. Now, does it happen overnight? No, these things take time to manifest, and they take time to fester. But they really do happen, and they are happening. So you've got George Soros, this Women's March. I'll start with that one. Which, oh my God, it's the big, and you see the memes all over the place. Women's March. It's the best in the world. It's basically all these women getting together organically. No, it's not organically. It's funded. The thing is when you got George Soros funding something like 53 of these women's groups, all links to George Soros, and they've got busing all these radical leftists everywhere. I mean, they're busing Canadians, or attempting to bus Canadians to the Capitol. What does that cost to send a bus